So we're going live.
Yep.
It says we're live.
All right. We're recording.
We are rolling.
Awesome. Hey, everybody.
I really hope that people can hear us because I just adjusted a setting on the YouTube live.
Yeah.
So this could be an hour of just total silence.
Where they only see our facial expressions.
Well, maybe what we could do in post, because I think you can edit these in post. What we'll do is we'll add like that old timey piano music and make it sound like a silent film. That might be interesting.
That would not be
And
interesting
we put
at
little
all.
captions
No,
as action happens.
that would not be interesting at all. Welcome to this show. I think we're actually gonna change the name of this show because, babe, I've realized it was suggested to me to do the Tessa Van Wade show because I'm an author and doing marketing for the book and doing marketing for stuff. But in reality,
it's kind of become our show.
Yeah. I like doing it with you.
But I don't want to announce anything until we come up with a really good name.
What's wrong with the Tessa and Ben show or the Ben and Tessa show?
I don't know. It just seems too normal. I think we should come up with something a little bit more interesting.
Okay. Well, we'll try.
Like pow. Here we go.
Like pow from like, all of a sudden that picture of the pow from
pow, POW.
From Batman.
Exclamation point. And then ... Here we go.
Can you believe?
I just made that up. Can you believe that? That's amazing.
Maybe I wasn't going to go there.
Oh,
but
okay.
Can you believe the pow, like the old Batman that used to be cool?
Yeah, the 60s version. I used to watch that all the time.
I know. The pow and the bang and the
I love how like out of shape Batman was.
Oh,
he was
totally.
Just like a normal dude.
He was a barrel.
Yeah,
with
just
like
a normal dude that put on tights.
Skinny arms.
Hilarious.
And legs.
It's awesome.
No, it's not. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird because when you think about, oh, Ben.
Get off the table.
When you, I'll show you on the table.
What?
I don't know. When you think about all those old shows and everything, it's kind of wackadoodle how like
wackadoodle. There it is. Hey, Beeve.
It's totally wackadoodle. The way that we used to, the things that used to entertain us,
Well, I'm kind of, that makes me sad because
why?
I think that we used to be just,
what makes you sad about what I just said?
It didn't take so much to entertain us. Now here we are, like putting on a song and dance, trying to entertain people.
Oh,
and you got to come up with something like "pow." Here we go to get people to draw in.
You came up with "pow." Here we go, and all I could think was that. All I could see was that yellow
with the red letters.
With the red letters saying
bang.
"pow," bang,
zap.
The funny thing is that most people that are like born like just a little bit after us are never going to know what we're talking about.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, just get on YouTube. I can guarantee you can watch some episodes of the old Batman.
Oh my gosh. Don't do it.
The 60s TV series.
Don't do it.
No, it's entertaining.
It is. It's entertaining from the perspective of like, let's make fun of it at this point, but it is not entertaining in action and excitement.
Yeah. In the late 80s, early 90s, I think it was on Nick at Night.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I watched
Nick at Night. Yeah. Holy moly.
My mom didn't have cable at her house, but my dad did. So on the weekends, I used to stay at my dad's house and he had cable. So I got to watch all the like Nickelodeon and stuff like that I didn't
have. Remember very clearly one time I have two older brothers and they were going to stay somewhere. And I wasn't. And as we're driving away, we were at a like a restaurant and they were going to go with this person who was going to take them to their house. And my mom looks at them and she goes, "Okay, so I'll see you guys later. No MTV."
Yeah. Okay. I got a great story about MTV.
I knew you would.
So my friend growing up, he had the old cable box, it had like the red letters on it, the red digital letters. Everybody in the world had it who had cable. And his mom, he wasn't an only child, but he was much younger than the rest of his siblings. So he basically was at this point we were like in 6th grade, and he was the only kid in the house.
Yeah.
And his mom had put on these blocks for like MTV, VH1, and the other, evil
Yes.
channels that we weren't allowed to watch. But he figured out the code.
Oh,
So we would go after school and we would watch MTV. And anytime she came in the room, we would just change the channel real quick.
Yeah.
And I remember what it was. There was a button it was auxiliary, but the button was AU.
Okay.
So you put AU and it was 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it would like you would turn it onto that channel, whatever channel MTV was on, and you push AU 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it would go and it would turn on, and it was like awesome.
What's funny is I totally had friends too that we had the code to get past the parents.
Yeah.
So
I never
you
figured
had
it out.
that,
I never figured
we
it out
had
for like
that.
the spicy channels.
Spicy channels.
I'm trying to come up with a PG version of saying those channels.
A sexy channel?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I do know what
Well,
you
because
mean.
there was another one for like movie channels, right?
Yeah.
Like HBO, Showtime, Cinemax.
Yeah, but
So-
isn't it just weird that like MTV was the thing that we were not supposed to watch?
Yeah, and what's funny is like that was back during the time where it was just music. It was just music videos.
Yeah.
It wasn't shows.
Totally. I remember one time my mom being like, "How do you know all of these songs?" And I'm like, "Because we watched every single."
Because we secretly watched it on MTV at our friend's house
Totally.
behind your back.
Totally.
Another thing that I wasn't allowed to watch, which I totally did, was The Simpsons.
You weren't allowed to watch The Simpsons?
My mom did not want me watching The Simpsons. And I totally, it was like my favorite show.
I remember not being able to wear the Simpsons shirts
Don't
to
have
school.
a cowman. And
Well, the don't have a cowman was fine, but I believe that there was a shirt that came out where Bart Simpson's on it,
He's
and it
getting
says
choked.
underachiever.
Oh, okay.
And we weren't allowed to wear the underachiever shirt.
I was thinking it was going to be the shirt where Homer is strangling him and it says, "Why you little?" And it's like exclamation point, hashtag, asterisk, So it's like an implied bad word, and he's abusing his child.
Exactly. See, this is the thing. I know I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I was never into The Simpsons, like at all.
That's fine. That's okay.
You do not. You're saying that because we're on here, but the fact
No.
is that you've never thought that was okay that I didn't like The Simpsons.
I get why you didn't like The Simpsons. I loved it. In fact, most of my guy friends liked it.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly.
Well, our kids love it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, every single time it goes, because
And
there's
it's
like
still-
75 seasons.
It is still going.
So like our kids watch these shows, and when they decide to go through the whole gamut of Simpsons, that means that
30
the
years.
next year we will be watching Simpsons every single time I walk through the door.
It's 30 years of programming. So
Yeah.
it's like 30 seasons. I don't know the exact amount. But
Yeah. I wasn't allowed to watch Three's Company.
I loved Three's Company.
I know, me too.
What
Jack,
hijinks did Jack, Janet, and Chrissy get into every week? And Mr. Roper would come in and
Well, and I remember always being disappointed when they changed from Suzanne Summers to like the other lady. That there was
Yeah.
another blonde lady, and I don't think it lasted very long
Yeah.
after that. I don't really know for sure.
I always kind of fantasized being Jack.
Well, duh.
Like although Janet, I feel bad for Janet.
Janet
'Cause-
today would be so.
I think
Listen,
I think she was
that
actually
hair.
I think she was actually really pretty. We're talking about the one with the black hair.
Well, she had a mullet.
She had a mullet.
Absolutely,
I think she was
did.
actually really pretty,
She was.
but the hair is just unfortunate.
I'm gonna have to look back at her picture because I can't even picture her without the mullet.
It's terrible.
Yeah, the mullet
Yeah.
is all I see. In
Yeah.
fact, I can't even picture her face. I only see the mullet.
It's similar to the hairdo that the wife on The Shining has. It's just terrible. And it's funny. It's because this thing was filmed in the 70s. I bet in the 70s it was great.
The mullet?
Yeah, like that look was in.
Isn't
It
that
wouldn't have been there if it wasn't.
okay?
in.
Well, let's talk about that. Why why does that mean that it's okay to look like that? Like why do things like mullets actually
It's
become
just a trend.
trends?
I don't
I
know.
don't get it.
I don't get
Because
it because people are like cutting mullets again.
like I look in the mirror and I go, "Oh, okay. I look okay," all of that kind of stuff. If I had a mullet every morning, I would probably look in the mirror and be like, "I can't live with myself."
And you know what? I don't feel like I need to apologize to our listeners who have mullets
No.
because you chose to have a mullet.
I think that
Chances are you're doing it to be funny.
right. I don't think people actually be serious about their mullets?
There's like a hipster thing going on right now where people are like cutting mullets for real. I don't get it.
But they're like kidding, right? They're like taking
No.
them.
No, it's like a trend. It's like a thing.
Oh.
I got a
Well,
bug
all I
flying in my
know
face.
is that when I think that Janet's from Three's Company was probably one of the worst, and I think that it really did her an injustice.
I think it was more like a slanted bowl cut. Like instead of like the straight across bowl cut, it kind of went
Totally.
like tilted like
I gotta
this.
see it now. Hold on, I gotta see it now. This is
The only problem with you looking up stuff is
Yeah.
you get kind of quiet because you.
No, I'm not going to get quiet.
Okay.
You keep going.
Okay. Anyway, what's funny is I think the whole MTV thing, my parents were trying to keep me from watching Madonna.
The Life
else?
is a Mystery one.
Where she's a nun.
Where the burning crosses.
Yeah, burning crosses. It's totally
I
evil.
loved that song, and I was so guilt-ridden for loving that song.
That's where I fell in love with Paula Abdul.
She was not in that video.
I realize that. I'm saying MTV.
That's just how it sounded. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Paula Abdul. Paula Abdul was the original. Like, bear with me.
You're gonna have to get
She
off
was
the table.
the original. Oh my gosh!
You're gonna make our
to chill
listeners
out.
seasick.
Anyway, it's not even moving. She was the original Beyonce, and like the reason I say that, she was the original. Like, I remember she had legs that I could totally relate to.
Oh, okay. So her build was more of a natural woman,
Yes.
curvy type build.
Like,
even though she's only like 3 feet tall.
No, don't say natural, because the fact is that there's very, very tall and skinny natural ladies. I know. I just want to make it clear, because I am very much a let's make sure that everybody's comfortable with their own natural self. But there's a natural there's a natural thin, and then there's me. where no, sorry, don't take it wrong. I love my legs now, but it took me a long time because I was born with very solid legs.
Yeah, you're of Germanic blood.
I am of a lot of different blood.
And Scottish.
A lot. There's a lot of blood in me of different kinds. But the fact is that I always had those. I mean, I was born with like tree trunks as thighs.
I think you're exaggerating a little bit.
No, I don't think I am. But anyway, but what's funny is that it has taken me years and years. It started after, I think we've talked about this before, but it started after knowing that I was going to have a daughter.
Yeah.
And I decided to literally, which actually this goes into what we were going to talk about today, but I actually, when I knew I was going to have a daughter, I didn't want her to grow up like hating her body. That was the scariest thing to me, because I had spent so much time hating my body over the years. I mean, I'm unfortunately, I just grew up in the day and age of Kate Moss, right? That was the person that always kind of, I was in my brain, or, women were just practically starving themselves, and, all of that kind of stuff to be a body type that wasn't theirs. Right. And so I was always looking at my legs as a problem. I knew ultimately that when I had babies, they were going to have a chance to have my legs. So I started changing my thought process. I started telling myself that how much I loved my legs, what they could do for me, how strong they were for me. Literally just started internally changing the talk. It's not that I believed it right at first. It was literally that I just started changing the talk. And so I kept telling myself these things, like every time I had a bad thought about my legs, I would change it up. No, I actually love my legs. I love my legs. I would start recognizing women who had legs like me or had build like me. And it, no joke, it turned from just telling myself these things to then living what I was telling myself, which I literally found myself saying these things to me. And then in a couple years, realizing that I actually believed them. Like, no, like my legs are strong, my legs are awesome, and all of this kind of stuff. And then telling myself that I would never ever speak badly about my legs in front of my daughters because there was a chance they would have the same legs. And guess what?
Yeah, they definitely do.
They do. They like
Well, and they love it because of that.
they do.
Because you've taught them that this is a good thing.
They do. They've had literally, they've come up to me and said, "Oh man, I just love how strong my legs are. I love, they talk good about their thighs." And
Well, I think there's also just a general, like, women being powerful is a good thing now, as
we're
opposed
getting there.
to
We're getting there. Yeah.
as opposed to like 30 years ago, where there was this idea of being like meek and thin and
Mhm.
um
Wasting
so like
away. Yeah.
even like in the 80s it was all about the aerobics, right? And
Mhm.
it was just about getting thin.
Mhm.
Now it's about being strong.
Yeah.
There's definitely
There's
a movement of women being
there's a
strong
woman there's
physically.
a movement of women being strong. There's a movement of also, and maybe I'm being too positive about this, but I talked to my girls about it and they 100% agree. There's a movement of also just being okay to have the body that you have.
Yeah, so you're not just trying to look for one type, it's like all types
All types, as
are
long as
good.
it's natural and as long as it fits you and you're not trying to fit a mold. Like you have to eat a very specific way when you are like let's say you're trying, I remember always looking at people like Gwyneth Paltrow or something like that. Look, I am never going to have that body type. Yet in
No,
my brain,
I don't want you to have that
but
body
I
type.
know, but in my brain, as a teenager, that's what I was supposed to have because that's what she had. That's what many women had. So I was supposed to have that. And so I would literally tell myself, okay, what do I need to do to get that? And so then imagine what my eating and my working out had to be in order to even realize or get that.
Yeah, I can completely relate to you because in my growing up, for me, like the men that we were supposed to look like was like Brad Pitt, you know.
Yeah.
And fortunately for me, I already looked like that.
Oh, I knew that was coming. I
So it wasn't as much of a struggle because I
You
was
know, I
already there.
knew that whole time that you were speaking, I was like, this is not gonna be real.
I was being too authentic. I think that's why.
This was not gonna be real.
Yeah, you
And I
read
was
right through it.
waiting for that. But it is funny because the fact of the matter is that going back to Paula Abdul, I remember looking at her and recognizing a similarity, even though she was way shorter than me. I'm 5'8". I think Paula Abdul is like 5 feet.
Okay.
I think she's very small. But anyway, watching her and like looking at her and going, oh my gosh, like somebody who is kind of shaped like me, somebody who has solid thighs. And not only that, but all the men are like in love with her.
Well, I think too, because she was actually a real dancer,
Yeah.
right? She wasn't just a singer who has to perform. She
No,
was
she
like,
started as a choreographer.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think she just kind of had the whole package,
She did.
you know.
Yeah. But it is funny because like she was to me, it's just funny that you bring her up because she was to me the original the the original kind of, even though she didn't get as much credit for it as like the Kardashians do, or like J-Lo does, or Beyonce, she didn't get the credit, but she was the original. She was the OG.
She was the original booty.
She was the OG booty and legs.
Interesting.
Seriously, Paula Abdul.
I never
Go
really,
back and look.
I never thought of her that way.
Yeah.
I was too busy, like, I don't know, trying to like, I thought it was cool that she danced with a cartoon.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
I'm like, that's
That
cool.
was
They have
one
a
of the best
cartoon.
ones. And it was in like a suit jacket.
Cold-hearted snake.
And you don't remember like looking at her thighs?
He was in like a zoot suit.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't remember. Like,
Well,
she had like Z Cavaricis on. I don't remember her thighs being very prominent.
we're gonna have to go back.
Remember Z Cavaricis?
Okay, so everybody needs to go. Anybody who listens to this needs to go and listen to and watch that video.
First, watch Three's Company, then watch Paula Abdul.
I loved John Ritter. He was just great.
Yeah.
But really quick, I have to say something. You opened my eyes a long time ago to that saying of women don't get skinny for men.
Yeah.
They get skinny for each other.
See, I thought I was going to get in trouble for saying that.
Why?
It seems like it's one of those things that, oh, a man is just deflecting responsibility again.
No,
we go.
No, because or maybe I don't know. Somebody may think differently than I do, but I know that to me that helped so much because I go, wait, you don't need me to be skinny. You don't need me to eat like a freaking nothing.
Yeah. So for those listeners who don't listen intently to all of our podcasts, we're referring to one of our episodes where we talked about this.
Yeah.
A little bit. And I referenced the song Wild Nights. I still don't know who sings it.
Wild Nights?
You still haven't even looked up Janet from Three's Company.
I
so
know.
Looking up this is going to be another thing. Anyway, Wild Nights. I think that's what Wild Nights is Colin or something.
Okay.
Anyway, the lyric is all the girls walk by dressed up for each other. So that's the one you're referencing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
there
it
is
is.
Janet.
There she is.
There's her.
Yeah, sweet old mullet.
Her mullet.
That's one of the versions of the hair. That's not the bowl cut version. See, I think she's actually quite attractive. It's just the hair.
She was beautiful. She was. Yeah. But anyway, it is funny going back to it is funny the things that we were told not to watch or not to do as kids.
And those are the things that I have kind of the fondest memory of.
I know.
Probably because we were breaking the rules.
You think that?
Yeah, I think there's a level of that. There's like this little edge to it,
Funny thing is we don't ever put any rules around our kids.
Yeah, we don't have many restrictions and they just follow their own rules, which are more strict than the ones we put on them.
I know.
It's so weird.
So apparently that's how you parent. You just stop putting a ton of rules.
No, I think that we just because we are very much rule followers naturally. I think that there's a natural there's something in the DNA that totally. We didn't get one of the rogue kids. I don't know what we would do with one of the kids that are like had to break every rule.
I don't know either. I think probably that you would go insane.
Yeah.
I think absolutely you would go insane. Well, one of the things we were going to talk about today was kind of the story, right? The stories that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about before.
Well, yes, we touch on these themes quite often, but I think it's worth bringing up again because it's something that immediately floods your mind the moment you wake up, and most people don't even realize it.
Right.
So being able to identify when you're being lied to. Mm-hmm. Who tells the lies? Well, there's a lot of theories in that, and we're not going to get into that. There's religious theories, there's scientific things, but the point is that it's not natural for your brain to tell you that you're a loser, because your brain wants you to survive, right?
Dude, my brain told me I was a loser for many years.
Yeah, so we're talking about when we say the lies, it's all of the stories that you tell yourself.
Well, the reason we even started to talk about this was because the story I was telling you earlier.
Yeah, so maybe you should tell that story. Or are you embarrassed too?
I mean, no, it's not a bad story for me. It just, I don't want it to sound like
Well,
but so we would, growing up, we were in youth group, and I was telling, I
some
had
people may not
somebody.
yet know what youth group is. That's like
It doesn't matter. It was a place where we would go to when we were.
it's not like Hitler Youth. Okay, we're not talking about that kind of youth group. We're talking about a church youth group.
Yeah, we're talking about a church
Okay.
youth group. And
That's-
so growing
that's
up
what
in
I
the
mean.
church youth group,
You got to clarify.
there would be a way of it, right? We go to somebody's house, we sing songs. And
Wait, you would go to somebody's house?
yeah.
Did you not have a building?
No, we would often go to people's houses.
Oh, that's lame.
Oh, I think it's comfy. We would be able
Depends
to
on
sit
the
on
house.
couches, and
Depends on the house.
anyway, we would go to people's houses, and we would, the way it would go is we would sing songs, and then we would have a lesson, and then we would all play and hang out, right?
Okay, yeah. Instead of
that's-
causing like wreaking havoc around the community,
Yeah.
you're, cooped up in somebody's house, doing positive things,
Hopefully.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole
hopefully.
idea behind the youth group.
Yeah. And so we were there, and what here is the funny story. I was the kind of teenager, and people always tell me when I tell these stories, I always get a message from people that I haven't seen in years going, I never thought that you were shy in high school. I never thought that. And I've figured out the way I need to actually change it up is because I had a really good, solid like stance about me, in the sense of I'm going to cover this up really well. And so I would just stay quiet.
So you're really good
And
at masking.
So I
or-
was really good at masking, but what it really was I actually look back on it, and it was like, yeah, I guess it was a form of shyness, but it was really that I would just have a lot of anxiety when I thought about going and talking to people.
very ironic.
So I had this like person, very ironic because I'm not like that anymore.
Yeah, you like
Yeah.
won't shut up now. In a good way. In a good way.
I don't know how to.
No, like you get really excited about people now.
I do. I get super excited about people, but it took me a long time. And I think that had I not had those insecurities, I would have gotten excited about people in high school. I was so insecure and so worried about, like, I didn't assume that people would. My story that I told myself all the time was, they don't want me coming up there and talking to them. They don't want me to jump into that group when I don't know what they're talking about. Like, how embarrassing. Like, they don't want me. And maybe a lot of high schoolers have that story that they tell themselves,
Yeah, I think that just in general, kids are more insecure at
Yeah,
that age.
I think we just haven't found our maturity level, and I definitely was. There were
Not
other
only
things.
not only are they insecure, but they believe everything is about them.
Yeah, so it's like
Right.
a weird selfish insecurity. Yeah,
Right,
for
right,
sure.
yeah.
Like a narcissist. Well, they always say
Yeah, teenagers are kind of
narcissists for
yeah.
sure. Like, it's all even their sadness
Some
and their pain.
definite mental issues going on there.
Yeah. So, but eventually we all get out of it, and
Yeah. All? You use the word all. I think we need to look that up on Google.
no. But anyway, the story goes is that I was telling him, I had somebody contact me this morning. They were super amazing. They said nice things about, they just read my book and all that, and they knew my dad, and so they said your dad would be really proud. So that was a very special moment for me, because even though I've gotten a lot of people talking about my book and sending me messages and everything, that was the first time I'd heard from somebody, your dad would be really proud. And
Yeah, that's cool.
that was cool, because there are things that totally you miss when somebody passes. It's the things that are exciting in your life, and the things that are like, he never got to see our kids, and he never got to see us move to Hawaii, and he never, or build my business, and now, publish a book, and so it's funny, because to hear that my dad would be proud, it's awesome. But this person reminded me of one time I ran into this person a little bit later after high school, And I think I ran into several people. I can't actually remember it very very vividly, but I remember very vividly going to these youth groups, and I would sit down and we would sing songs. And I have a really, if for people who don't know me, I have a really high voice.
Like a banshee?
No,
I just pictured a banshee screaming.
no.
You know what a banshee is?
Ben, you know my voice.
I'm sorry.
You've heard my voice a zillion times.
I just need to get in here at some point. I just need to be able to like say something, because it's a long story.
You will be able. It's not a long story. I'm making it long. I apologize. So it is funny because I have a high voice.
I think what you let me say it so you don't have to.
Okay.
Tessa has a
Yes.
very beautiful singing voice.
Thanks.
And
babe.
that's not a husband who's bragging about his wife. She actually does have a really beautiful singing voice. Her whole family is very musical, and she's a soprano.
I am a soprano.
And she's not a banshee. She actually has a very beautiful voice.
Thanks,
That way
babe.
you don't have to say it, so
Thank
it doesn't
you.
come across as bragging.
Thank you. I appreciate
Anybody that
that.
knows you
me.
that's watching this will be like,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yes.
Because that's how they know you.
yes.
You used to be a
In high school,
you
I
were a
sang a
singer.
lot. Yeah, I sang a lot. And what's weird is that we don't do that at all. But that's a whole nother
too
thing.
was in choir.
He has a very beautiful voice.
Mine was more of like a popularity contest, not like an ability.
You had a deep voice. You were a
Yeah.
bass.
Well, eventually, because I hit puberty halfway through high school. So I started high school as basically a soprano. No, I was like a tenor.
Yeah.
And then between my sophomore and junior year, I went from being a tenor to being a bass.
That must have been
Finally.
so weird. Was that like, did that feel weird?
Honestly, I don't remember. I remember
Like,
trying.
do you feel it? Because to me, when I hear people speak low,
Yeah.
like even when I get sick in the morning, like sometimes my voice can be really deep, especially when I get sick, right? And so I feel it like in here.
Yeah, there's a bit of a rumble.
Yeah.
I've kind of lost some of that. I'm kind of just like a baritone now, just this boring gray noise. It's basically what I sound like.
The brown noise.
A little bit of like a frog who sings gray.
Well,
Anyway, I've made it about myself again.
I love
you
it.
have a beautiful singing voice. Continue.
Thank you, Ben. So anyway, I would sit in there and I would always have these like super high harmonies to these songs that we would sing all the time. And I loved singing them, right? I love singing these harmonies, and I was able to do it because I have a natural soprano. So I was able to do it quietly in the back, or at least as quiet as I think I'm going to be quiet as
Just
a
blasting
teenager.
everybody.
I know, right? Like, what if I was? Who knows? I probably was. But it is funny because years later, so I saw that these guys were like laughing in front of me or like talking to each other. And I remember getting like quieter, like when I heard that, like, oh shoot, like,
You assumed they were talking about you.
of course I did. And so years later, I run into these people and I run into these guys, and they specifically mentioned youth group, and they specifically said that they said, oh man, every time that we would go into youth group and we'd be like, okay, where is she sitting? And then they would sit in front of me so that apparently that they could hear, they could enjoy the harmony that I
So they
was
could
giving
hear
to,
the
and
nightingale.
so they could hear the nightingale.
I
It's a
do
silly
remember.
story, but it is funny because I was very cruel to myself in that thought process.
Yeah, like
I was super
the
cruel to
reality-
myself. Yeah.
the reality is that they were specifically looking to hear you because it was so beautiful. And in your mind, in the story you told, was that they were trash talking.
And I feel really stupid for telling the
Right.
story now because I don't want it to be about like that it's
Well,
about me,
how old were
my
you?
voice being beautiful or whatever.
How
That's
old
not
were-
what it's about. 16, 15.
Yeah, so I mean, 16-year-olds are dumb.
Yeah.
They're gonna think things like this,
But
right?
it is funny. Well, yeah, but I think that a lot of us don't stop telling ourselves these stories.
Absolutely not. I had a story today.
What you like in your own head?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear it. Ben, you can insert yourself
All
right
right.
here.
I mean, it's not a great story, but
Well, don't
it
start
is
it like
something
that. Then
that
it's not going to be a
no,
great
because
story.
I've been very aware of the stories that I tell myself because we've been kind of for the past year, we've been like catching each other being like, "Oh, that's a nice story you told yourself."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like, "That's a story. Don't
Mhm.
believe it.
Mhm.
Don't believe the lie."
Mhm.
Anyway, today is super minor. I'm in charge now at my job site, and I had to send some guys to go pick up some material. Right. So I chose the guys for a reason that I thought was a really good reason.
Okay.
And I chose these two in particular. They're part of a team, and I felt like they finished up their job, and this is a perfect time for them to go because they're kind of in between jobs. I didn't want to split up the teams.
Sure.
So these two guys, I'm like, perfect. It was a 2-man job. They had to load up some heavy stuff. Anyway, so we gave them the list. We sent them off, right? And it was a pretty long list. And they come back a couple hours later, and everything is wrong. They got everything wrong. and, and immediately, I took the blame in my
Oh.
own mind.
Oh.
Like, I'm like, not in a good way, like, oh, this is as a leader, I
Yeah.
should have been more communicative. No, it was like I chose the wrong thing. I should have thought this through better. I should have chose different guys to go. And this is nothing against the guys that went. They just clearly were not, I don't know. Ultimately, it was their fault.
Right.
It's not my fault at all. It's actually their fault.
Yeah.
But my project manager um, was under the impression that I was sending somebody else
Oh.
who wouldn't have made that mistake. But
Oh.
he doesn't know that as the guy who's in charge, I chose those guys for a specific reason, and that reason was a good reason,
Yeah.
and I stand behind that.
Yeah.
But my mind starts going like, "Oh, they're probably talking about how like you made a stupid decision.
Uh-huh.
It's going to get to the boss.
Uh-huh.
How like you don't delegate well.
Uh-huh.
You totally blew it.
Yeah.
Like you sent one of the higher paid guys to go when it's really a lower paid job."
Wait, a hired paid guy
Well-
came with all the wrong stuff?
Yeah, that's the thing. But higher paid doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right job for them. The higher paid guys should stay on the job site and work. Like
Okay.
running and get materials is kind of a
Yeah,
labor
no, I
job.
get it.
But in this case, today, it made sense.
Well, and I know you wouldn't normally send the higher paid guys
so
to go do
I
it. So
made-
there had to be a reason.
I made an executive decision that I stand by, and I still stand by it. So I'm proud of myself for that.
Okay.
But it doesn't change the fact that I still had these stories going on in my head that like behind my back, they're being like, because these are the things I'm insecure about is, am I good at delegating? Am I making the right decisions? Am I being a good leader? And immediately those things came into question for the stupidest reason.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's thinking that. I know nobody's thinking that. And it's really not that big a deal. It's just one of those like, because it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
And for me, we've talked about this, everything has to be perfect. And it wasn't perfect. So,
Right.
so
Right.
it caused my mind to start telling that story.
Totally.
And in the past, I think I would have like told myself even more story than even that. I would have gone further down the rabbit hole. But
yeah.
I've been like actively working, and this is just a little picture. It's minor. It's not that big a deal, but it was still a story. And I was able to recognize that it was a story that was not true. And I needed to like stop it right there and be like, no, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
You didn't make the wrong decision. It was just one of those annoyances that happens occasionally.
Yeah.
And we'll get over it.
Yeah. But that's the craziness. I think that as teenagers, I think I think we don't know how to battle it at that point. We
Yeah.
don't even know about it, maybe even. We
Well,
don't know how to recognize it.
Tell me if you experienced this when you were a kid. You get new clothes, right?
Okay.
In fact, I know the answer to this.
For me?
Yeah.
Okay.
even myself, who I was a fairly confident kid,
Mhm.
I would still like if I bought like a new pair of shoes that I really liked or a new shirt or
Yeah.
something, I would like walk onto campus and be like, is this going to pass the test?
Totally.
Like, am I going to get
Um,
ridiculed for this?
Hello. I had some very gnarly things happen to me
But those
from
weren't
other kids.
those weren't stories. Those were real. And that's the thing about stories.
Yeah.
The stories come
They come
from
from reality.
reality.
Mhm.
And the reality is that kids can be brutal. People can be brutal.
Okay, so I have a story. I don't know if I've told this story
Is it the
yet.
boot story?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to tell it. It's great.
Did I? No, it's not
such
great.
it's such a great it's like in a classic 80s high school movie. This would
But
so happen.
this was not 80s. This was early 90s because we were in junior high.
Right, but this is like the classic how schools
Okay.
are story.
So, you know, I didn't have the best fashion sense. In fact, it took me a while. And then what's funny is as I got older, I started liking fashion a lot more. Right. And I ended up kind of doing my own little thing. You know, I just always had this kind of quirky fashion sense. And I found these boots that kind of looked like they kind of look like they were old fashioned. So like they kind of like witches' boots.
No wonder.
Don't
Okay.
laugh.
Okay, so I picture like Western woman in like the 1800s. They're
Yeah.
like lace up. They have a little heel and a pointy toe like that.
Almost exactly. And the heel like kind of went in and
then
then went out.
Oh, this is great. I've never heard you describe the boots.
I've
I've heard this story
I
many
didn't
times.
want to describe the boots.
Did you wear like a petticoat too?
No, Ben, you are a mean girl.
And a parasail?
You're a mean girl in your heart.
I am. I'm sorry.
You are such a mean girl in your heart. Okay.
So you wear the boots.
So the story goes, and I totally had a crush on this guy.
What was his name?
I don't want to tell his name.
Come on.
Because everybody that grew up with us knows him. Although we did, I had a crush on Joel Alabaz.
Okay, I remember him. He was pretty. He was a cool dude.
And he's such a sweetheart, and he's married.
Was like the football.
He played football.
Guy, right?
Yeah, but like he's got such a sweet, beautiful wife. Named Jenna, who I totally love. So, but anyway, the reason I even say his name is because I totally had this crush. I believe this is 8th grade.
Okay.
So I have this crush, all this, and
you got your killer boots on,
I've got
ready to go.
Yeah, but I told you, like you just said, when you walk onto campus, you're like questioning. I knew. I walked onto campus and I was like, I love these boots. They make me feel like I'm in a different world. And but yet like I wore jeans with them and probably a vest.
Yeah, but to be fair, that might have worked then.
I know, but it didn't. And so I get onto campus. And so at lunch, I noticed that there's a huge group of girls watching me. Like
classic.
We're talking massive group of girls.
This is
okay.
Great.
This is great. So we're like, I want to say there's like 8 to 10 girls in this group. And they're all girls that terrified me, actually. Like, because I knew that they had a tendency to kind of pick on you a little bit. They could probably be really harsh. In fact, I worked really hard at staying away from these girls so that I never ever could get near them.
Yeah, every school had this group, and there was also a group of guys like this too. In the boys' world, same thing.
So I see them talking. They're saying stuff about me, and I can see they're saying stuff about me. And
so this wasn't like a story you're telling.
I'm getting more and more insecure as I'm walking through, and I'm walking through alone.
Yeah,
I'm not with friends. I'm at lunch by myself. Because I was by myself and shy and all this. And I see my crush that's like not very far away, and like he's standing over there, and then there's this group of girls that are just totally, I can tell that they're gonna, and so the leader and a couple of her posse comes up to talk to me, and she's like, "Hey, like those are great boots. Where did you get those?"
So evil. Killer boots, man.
And I'm like, my heart sunk because I knew that like she was legitimately trying to make me believe that she was
That she was
real,
being
like
real.
she was being real. And I knew she wasn't. And so my heart sunk and my face, I remember that flushed feeling.
Oh yeah.
I don't get that so much anymore, but like as a kid, that was like my face got super flushed. And she was like, she goes, "Yeah, those are really great boots." And like the other girls are like beside her, like going, "Yeah, those are super cool boots. Where did you get those?" I mean, it's a total movie story, but I said, "Oh, my mom got them for me for like from like J.C. Penney or something like that."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, yeah, you could like wear those in like the 1800s or whatever." And I'm like,
She wasn't wrong.
And I'm like, "Thanks. Yeah, I know." And so anyway, she said a couple more mean things and obviously made it really funny that like so funny that when she walked away from me, she went up to the girls and they all looked at me and just laughed, like huge laugh. Doesn't that seem crazy
This is
that
great.
actually happens?
No, not at all. Because that was middle school.
So I went home that day. I think I might have actually even went home early, like called my mom and stuff. I took those boots off. I threw them in the back of my closet and pretended that I never, ever, ever got them or saw them ever again.
See, I think
And I got rid of them.
I think this is a horrible story, obviously, but trendsetters do this kind of thing. Like they find something that they think is cool.
Yeah.
And they make it so that everybody else wants a pair.
I didn't
Right?
make a trend
So-
out of these 1800 boots.
Where you missed the boat, I think, was like, I think that if you had walked onto campus like super confident in your killer boots, like the next week,
I don't
other
think you
people would have been wearing those
understand.
boots.
Nope, I don't think you understand middle school, and I don't think
I
there
totally
was.
understand middle school.
I don't think that. I think that you were either in the group or you weren't, and I think that I was gonna. I have so many stories like that. Like I have
Yeah.
so many stories like that. I was one of those people. I don't know. I don't know why. I'm sure there was a reason. I'm sure people from high school can probably contact me and be like, "Hey, look, this is why. This
Well,
is why you were mistreated like that,
I
or this
think-
is why we did those things."
No, but I think that everybody has a story like that.
Yeah.
Even if you were the mean girl.
Oh, sure.
I think that she probably has stories just like that. And that's the thing. Like we all grow up, right? So
Right.
this person, I'm sure you remember her name. We won't say it,
No,
but I'm sure she's a wonderful person.
I don't know
At this
because
point.
I haven't found her
Because-
on Facebook. I don't know.
Because
Yeah.
we all grow
There
up.
was a lot of girls in that group, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that they turn out to be wonderful people.
Yeah.
Because we all grow up.
Yeah.
A lot of us were horrible in middle school to each other, myself included.
Yeah.
I was pretty horrible to some people.
Yeah.
And there are some things that, I just can't take back. You just have to chalk
Well,
it
and
up.
what's funny
You have to
is
chalk it up to I was a kid.
what was funny is I would try so hard to almost act confident, right? And then that would get me
Yeah.
into the worst trouble too, right? Because it's not real.
You
It's
can see
not
right through
You
it.
can see right through that. So I would try really
I do
hard
remember the feeling of being really uncomfortable at school for what you're wearing though. One time it was Spirit Week and it was like color day. You're supposed to like wear the same solid color. And the only thing I had that was like the same color was this. I had this banana yellow, okay, which I look terrible in.
Yeah, yellow is not your color.
So banana yellow hoodie. And I don't know why, I think I wore them for a costume, banana yellow bell bottoms.
Yeah.
Because it was a big thing in the 90s. You could find bell bottoms from like authentic bell bottoms from the 70s at the thrift store.
Yeah.
And they were like those like polyester
Oh my
yellow
gosh.
bell bottoms.
Wow.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. It's Spirit Week. I'm going to wear
suicide.
I'm going to wear a hoodie and these super tight yellow bell bottoms. And I figured that the only shoes that go with that were my like black Payless combat boots.
Oh no.
So I literally looked like a banana.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember getting to school and nobody else dressed up. It was like one of those days where like people just didn't want to do it because it was kind of lame, the whole color thing. So I had to walk around all day in those yellow bell bottoms. It was my freshman year. I remember feeling like such an idiot. But makes a good story.
It does make a good story.
And your story is amazing.
No. I have so many stories like that I can't even. It's so funny.
Sometimes the stories you tell yourself are true. Like in that case, you knew what was real. Like they were making
They
fun
were
of you.
100% making fun of me.
But unfortunately,
they were very clear about that.
Unfortunately, it was that real story.
In fact, somebody came. Oh.
Didn't they clarify that, by the way, we were kidding? They're not really cool. They're actually horrible.
No, they were very clear about that. I have a strange memory of somebody nice or possibly Joel coming up and being like, "Hey, were they making fun of your boots?" Like,
which is even worse.
Which is so worse.
More attention to the boots.
Just stop talking to me about my boots.
You should have just taken them off and walked barefoot the rest of the day.
I wanted to so bad, but then that's embarrassing too, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's Shoeless Girl.
There was one time I remember, like, I came in and I gotten a new pair of socks. And I look over and these guys are just cracking up like it's the funniest thing in the entire world. Again, junior high. They're cracking up like something and they're looking at me. I'm like, what? What did I have? And they come over and they're like, did you just get new socks? And I'm like, yeah. How'd you know? And they're like, you left the stickers on them.
That is the funniest thing ever.
I just remember being like, okay,
because to a middle schooler, leaving the stickers on your sock is
so embarrassing.
Hilarious. Yeah.
But see, but again, that's where we get into trouble.
You know what's funny?
We recognize these are the things that made us. So we have to get out of that mode of believing that people are against us.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Your real story is what planted the seed,
right,
of many of your future stories.
Correct.
And that's the thing we have to get past.
We have to be able to allow other people to grow up in our minds as well.
By the way, a few weeks ago, one of the guys on my job site showed up with some new pants, a new pair of jeans. And it's like the exact same story. He had the sticker on it. And we were like, hey, did you just get those jeans? He's like, yeah, you like them? We're like, yeah, you left the sticker on, moron.
So in other words, you're telling me that it actually never changes and that we can't actually believe that people are not against us.
I mean, construction workers kind of never grow up.
Oh my gosh.
So
you guys are horrible.
Yeah. But the difference is it's fair game for everybody. So we don't just pick on one guy. Everybody picks on each other.
Right.
So it's kind of fun.
Well, I don't know. I didn't expect to be telling that story today.
It's a great one.
It is not a great one. And the truth was, I just really had bad sense of fashion.
Everybody did. I mean,
like I was especially bad with fashion. For sure.
Well,
like for sure. I mean, I can show you pictures.
It's okay.
I was really bad.
I mean, I
got better.
I wasn't exactly Zach Morris.
I got better in high school, and then until I got better in high school. But junior high, I really had no fashion sense. I was listening to my mom a lot. So
hey, my mom, when I would try on like pants or shorts, I'd be like putting him around my waist, and she's like, "Pull up your pants around your waist." She thought my waist was below my nipples. Like, Mom, that's not my waist. So, moms meant well,
I know.
but
They totally did.
we all survived.
Well, the thing of it is, we just wanted to get on and talk about, because Ben thought it was interesting, that story that I told, about this guy who contacted me, and how it was my brain that had told me, oh, shoot, like, for some reason, I couldn't believe that somebody would actually be thinking something good. It was just straight to thinking something bad.
Straight to the insecurity.
Yeah. And somewhere along the way, that has gone away, because I don't know. Maybe I just don't surround myself with drama.
Yeah, I mean, I think
know.
it still happens. It's just probably a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway,
So don't believe the lies.
Don't believe the lies. The fact is that for the truth and the reality is that when we start telling, what we were going to go into was Napoleon Hill, the author. He said, whatever you think in your mind, you become.
Yeah. And I think we should, that can tie us into, I think, a whole nother discussion maybe for next week.
Yeah.
Because that goes into the power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
And things like that. And I think maybe we should talk about that next week.
Sounds great.
It definitely.
So come back next week if you guys want to talk about the power of positive thinking and whatever you think you become. But today we're talking about making sure that we recognize those stories and stop telling us those stories.
I think in order to start thinking positively, you first have to recognize, you have to be able to identify the stories that are lies, so that you can kind of shed the negative and start thinking about the positives. This might be like a 2-part thing.
It could be a 3-part thing, because a lot of it comes from just like going through what I did with those ladies and being able to like somehow still trust people in the future.
Yeah. So what I do right now, just as an exercise, anytime I'm thinking badly,
you're gonna yawn. Oh my gosh, this must mean a lot.
I held it back so it lasted way longer than it should have. Now my eyes are tearing up.
Yep.
What I was going to say is,
you're just crying about what you're going to say.
It's very dear to me. No, seriously. The exercise that I do is that anytime my mind starts doing that, I ask myself, am I telling myself a story?
Yeah.
And I kind of have to
you
stop
and I
it.
have really made an effort this year.
Yeah.
Or the last couple years.
Is this a story or is this for real?
And what's funny is it came from the book.
What book?
My book.
Oh, the new one?
It came from my book, the whole idea of doing that.
Yeah,
and yet it really has helped.
Yeah, the unconscious, right? The things that are in our head without us knowing it.
Yeah, and just recognizing when you're telling yourself a story. Yeah. And not allowing yourself to live in that story, So just basically watch out. Watch out for those stories that are being told to you, because you don't want to be walking around with a bunch of lies. I mean, that's definitely not a way to live. And in order to find our joy and our happiness, we have to recognize that those things are not, that's not actually happening. This person, and a lot of it comes from recognizing that the world doesn't necessarily revolve around you. Sure, there are times when people are talking about you, but a lot of times they're literally just talking about their grandma that said something weird, blah, 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 and it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for listening today. We are going to have this posted on all the different places you can find any podcast. And we will continue to go live. We are trying to just play around with live on YouTube right now, on my YouTube channel. But at some point, we have to have a very consistent time and day that we do this, so that people can know when to show up and to make comments and all of that kind of stuff.
It's always the goal.
So, no, that's what we're going to do. So, thank you for joining us. And next week, we will be back.
Okay. End of show.
All right. See you guys later.
Oh,
Lord. You're so weird.
I know.